It's Song Talk Radio.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio, the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. Dialing in from our temporary headquarters in Northland, Ontario, I'm Neil Modi, and with me, my co-host, Phil Emery. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing very well. I was a bit upset that I missed the notice about the retreat, the Song Talk Radio retreat, but I guess I'll go to the next one.
Well, to be honest, it's more of a family retreat. The family's in the other room, and I'm hiding out in the bedroom here with my laptop literally like on a stool, doing the show mobile. So it's all good.
Yes. Well, that's all the work we will go for our listeners. There's nothing.
Yes, that's all we go to. That's nothing we won't do. Just make sure that wherever we end up, we have a high-speed internet connection, and we're pretty well set.
Yeah. Tiny world.
Right. Yes, it's a great world. Okay, for everyone else, please send your comments, questions, summer travel plans to at Song Talk Radio on Facebook or Instagram, or feedback at songtalk.ca for the email, and we'll share your thoughts on the show. And please visit songtalk.ca to see the show post for this episode, to find links to resources we mention, and to download lyric and chord sheets to follow along with the songs that we feature. Tonight, we're very happy to welcome singer-songwriter Natalie Reis to the show. How are you, Natalie?
I'm doing so well. I'm so excited to be here tonight.
Great to have you on the show. We met a few weeks back at the supermarket open. It wasn't an open mic. It was like a Songwriters in the Round thing, which the supermarket here in Toronto and Kensington Market does on the weekly, I think, which is a great event. If listeners in Toronto are interested to check that out, it was a very cool time. Okay, and before we get to Natalie's great song, for another heads up about our songwriting challenge for 2025, which is to write a song in an odd time signature. You can check out the resource page at songtalk.ca, find a link in the sidebar, and check out this page. We've got a bunch of videos and a couple of previous episodes that we've done, as well as a bunch of guest episodes where they just happen to be, mentioning or talking about a song in an odd time signature or featuring a song in an odd time signature. So there's quite a bit of content there that you can go through and sort of learn yourself up. And here's some good examples of songs in odd time signatures. And as always, we look forward to hearing our listeners' answers to the challenge. Phil and I will be sharing our answers sometime this year. And of course, our listener episodes will follow after that. We haven't set any deadlines or anything yet, so it's still up in the air.
Gotta keep it flexible.
Yeah, keep it flexible, but don't worry not, because we should be setting a deadline sometime soon, Phil. And before the year runs out. It's only the summer, but you never know. Alrighty. And just in music industry news these days, there is that great big story that happened a short while ago about Taylor Swift and how she managed to buy back her catalog of her music. And if people haven't heard of this or quite don't understand exactly what that means, I mean, we're not experts as well. We had our good friend Alistair Bradley on the show, I think last year, talking about all the different rights and royalties and all the sorts of things you need to be aware of if you're publishing your music. And as far as I know, there's the songwriting royalty. There's also the publishing rights, and the songwriting royalty. No one can take that away from you. If you've written the song, you're the author of that song. You always get that royalty. But on the publishing side, traditionally anyway, record company typically owns that right to publish and to take whatever chunk of money that they want, pretty much, from things like radio placements and streaming placements now, and sync placements for TV and film and all those sorts of, and anywhere that your song is published, then the money comes in from that. So the idea here, Taylor Swift actually went a few years. She's been fighting this for a long time, but she went back a few years and re-recorded her first, I think it was 6 albums, from scratch by herself, so that she now is essentially the label and has all the rights to publish her own music, and got a lot of fans on board with that to sort of not listen to her original stuff from years ago, but listen to the Taylor Swift versions of her songs, which was a bold and incredible move. I thought this is amazing. And now, after years and years of battling it, she's actually managed to buy back all those original recordings of hers. So kudos to Taylor. That's really extraordinary thing.
Yeah. I think she was saying the only ones that she hasn't re-recorded now is her very, very first album and Reputation. And some people are like, we still want the Reputation Taylor's version.
Yeah, of course.
And so she hasn't been recording enough for all of our ears recently.
Yeah.
But
Really. Of course, this is also not the first time this has happened. Paul McCartney had, finally was able to buy back the publishing rights on June 18th of 2017. And I think at one time, Michael Jackson owned the publishing.
The Beatles publishing,
Yeah, there are a number of different publishing rights and mechanical rights, and that show with Alistair really does help to clarify some of it, although it's certainly not an easy thing to understand. But I know that the Dick Clark Five, who were sort of around the same time as the Beatles, another band from England, he was the drummer. Dave Clark was the drummer, but he was apparently a business genius and was very wealthy because he actually paid for all the recording. He paid for the tapes. So he actually owned the tapes and all the publishing, and he would actually just rent them out to record companies. So he kept on getting money on top of money on top of money. And at one time, John Lennon was saying that, they were just a bunch of kids and they didn't really have great representation, and people just gave them something to sign and they signed it. So they didn't know what they were signing most of the time. So it's, if you have a very valuable catalog, it can be very hard to get back the rights. Even though you wrote the stuff, you don't necessarily have the rights to take that work and put it into a concrete form, being part of a movie or a CD or a streaming or what have you. So something to keep in mind while you're embarking on your songwriting journey.
And your publishing journey.
Yeah,
because it's one thing to write the songs, but if you want people to hear them, you got to get it out in some form or another, and that's where all this other mechanical royalty stuff comes into play. So it's important to be aware of it and play the game, I guess.
Yeah, it's true too. If you don't necessarily have somebody who is there to be telling you the ins and outs of some of this, you can see how easily it is that you can kind of fall into these spaces where you end up not owning all of your music, and it feels kind of scary too. I think Taylor Swift has definitely shone light on all of this for, indie artists and of course other artists all across the board. But yeah.
Is this something that you think about yourself while you're putting out your own music into the world?
Yeah, it definitely is. And it's interesting because you assume that when you are the one who's distributing everything, I think sometimes you don't even really think twice, but it definitely just now I think has probably prompted for me and for other people oh, I better actually double check that I do actually have the rights to all of this, and where am I putting my music, and what does that implicate for me? Because it can feel kind of scary to think that your music wouldn't be your own. And like you said, you write it, you want it to be your own, of course.
Yeah. And like Phil was saying, it is a complicated bit of business because there's so many different factors and so many different players and so many different organizations, and government gets involved, and there's a lot of nuance there, right? It's not just a simple thing as I wrote a song, I own it. It's not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the worst part is that it only really becomes important if you're very successful. Because if you're not successful, nobody wants your music, then it really doesn't become an issue. But if you happen to get a hit, maybe an unexpected hit, suddenly you have to deal with a whole bunch of stuff that you weren't planning on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, yeah, we'd love to hear our listeners on this ongoing story.
Yes.
Okay.
And also
Okay.
what they do in their own practice too. Or if they think about this stuff at all.
Yeah. And we'll definitely put a link in the show post for this episode to the episode we did with Alistair, because that does kind of elucidate a lot of it and gets going. And on that show as well, we have a bunch of links to the individual organizations and things. And I believe Alistair talked about American organizations as well as Canadian, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So even if you're a US listener, most of our guests and most of our content is Canada focused. But when it comes to that stuff anyway, but I think on that episode, we talked about both sides.
But if you're in Germany, we don't know what the heck you're doing. So
we don't know what you're up to. Sorry.
You're on your own.
I think we have a guest from Germany coming up in the next few weeks.
They'll have to enlighten everybody for you.
They'll have to tell us what they do over there. All right. On to the main meat of the show. Okay. Natalie Reis is an independent folk singer-songwriter whose music is caught between bittersweet narratives and soaring melodies. Following her debut EP, Bones on Fire, in 2020, Natalie has released 6 singles that have evolved her storytelling, lyricism, and solidified her sound as a distinctive emerging artist. In the past year, she's had the opportunity to showcase her originals all across Ontario. In her latest release, Elgin Street, Natalie pairs poetic melancholy with an upbeat chorus that captures the joys and pains of growing up and moving on. Great to have you on the show, Natalie. And we're going to be talking about Natalie's song, Elgin Street. And remember, you can find the lyric sheet on the show post at songtalk.ca to follow along. Let's have a listen.
Elgin Street is an elegy to a life well lived, but she's dead to me. Everybody that passed through that door frame, I no longer speak their names. But I don't speak their names, 'cause their ghosts, yeah, their ghosts live on in words sung softly. Lines, oh, they hum because they have the time to come around whenever they like. Oh, drives me mad, these thoughts run wild. But I don't listen now, 'cause if I could, well, I would for once walk on holy ground.
Wow, great stuff.
Thank you.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit the process behind writing the song? Where did it come from, and how did it evolve?
Yeah, I can say that this one definitely was a process. Um, I actually had that first verse sitting in my voice notes app for the longest time. I feel like so many songwriters can probably relate to that, feeling like you've got this nugget of, a line or a verse and just feeling like the rest of the song is not quite there yet. And I tried so many different ideas for the chorus of this song and nothing ever felt right. And it was that song that I just kept coming back to like every week. And I'd be like, okay, I'm going to sit down and try and write the chorus for this damn song. And the chorus took a while. And then, I kind of was moving the lyrics around, trying different rhymes, trying different imagery. And I would say that chorus didn't feel right to me for about 6 months, which is a very long process for me, typically, I would say, in my songwriting. I find for the most part, I can sit down and normally things will kind of find their way within, a few days or at least within a month. So 6 months for me felt really, really long to be kind of coming back to this song and trying to find something that felt a little more right.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because so often people come in and say, "Oh, I wrote this song in like 20 minutes. It just came pouring out of me." Mm-hmm. It is nice to hear that sometimes you have to work on the song. You have to sit there and try. What was the thing that made chorus finally work for you?
I think I was really struggling with getting into the chorus. Like, how was I going to come out of the verse and enter the chorus in a way that made it punchy, but not, I didn't want the imagery to make it sound tacky in any way. And I wanted the lyrics to still be the focal point, and I wanted the melody to carry that. And I was also like testing some different things with chords in this song. So this song sits a lot on the like 4 instead of the 1, instead of the tonic. And it sits there for a lot of the verse, a lot of the chorus. And I kept feeling as though every time that I went to the tonic in the chorus that it felt too final. And I feel like that's unusual to not really be using the tonic at all in the song. And it doesn't actually come in until the bridge, which I
really liked. I like that bridge.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That is kind of what makes the bridge so. It does feel like, from a songwriting theory point of view, it sounds very resolved, but it does feel like we've finally landed in a place, right? And
Yes.
and it doesn't hold quite the tension of the verse and even the chorus. And you're right, it is maybe Nashville 101 to resolve to the tonic in the chorus, at least. Your verses are supposed to be tension, and then your chorus you're supposed to bring it all home. But I think was it the lyrical ideas then that sort of propels you to say, I'm not going to resolve in the chorus, and it's going to be and you're right, that would make it a little bit tougher to sort of find that right balance between it sounding because you obviously want it to sound catchy, and have the melody interesting enough to carry us through it, but was it the lyrical thing that really put that tension in you to fight for it?
Yeah. I wanted this song to be a bit of a little bit different than some of the songs that I've written before. I wanted it to be a little bit darker. I wanted people to feel like, oh, this is kind of transitioning out of some of the other music that's a little lighter and maybe about like my earlier 20s and things like that. I wanted people to feel that, and I wanted it to be reflective. And there was something about sitting on the 4 that felt reflective to me. And every time I would experiment with bringing in the tonic, I just thought, no, it's not meant resolve yet. And like you said, Neil, I wanted it to have that tension in a way, like that there is something here that's making it feel just a little uncomfy. But I think also the lyrics suggest that too. There's a lot of imagery around death, which is meant to be, kind of resolution of a period of your life. And then there's almost this redemption or slight renewal in the bridge, but then we're right back to, that chorus one more time.
That's, it's interesting talking about sticking on that 4, because after a while, the song sort of kind of melodically almost reminded me a bit of Peter Gabriel. And I wonder if that's what Peter Gabriel does a lot. I wonder if he does a lot of that sitting on the 4. Because it has some of that sort of tension that his stuff has. I might steal that this weekend and play around with that, because I've never consciously set something that sits on the 4, as opposed to sitting on the 5, which is so strong. It's almost like sitting on the 1, but sitting on the 4. Is it a suspended 4, or is it just?
It is a suspended 4, and I kind of do have some different chords that I play on the guitar that are slight variations on the 4. So there's a tiny bit of movement even within that 4 chord, but it's so small. And I feel like the only other kind of movement that's happening is within the rhythm on the guitar. Of course, all of the other, instruments that are added into the song as well. And then the melody that's moving on top of it.
Was the sitting on the 4, was that a conscious decision, or did you sort of like work on it and then sort of realize, hey, this is what I'm doing?
Yeah, it's funny that you asked that, because I feel like so often nothing is conscious when I'm songwriting. I feel like I start songwriting and I'm kind of like, ooh, this sounds cool. And it's just almost like ear candy. And I'm like, ooh, I kind of like this chord, or I discovered this chord. Or, playing around with different things. And I'd like to try and write something about this, or, oh, I've already got this lyrical idea in my mind. And I think because I had the melody in my head and it just felt like it moved enough, I noticed that I didn't really need to move those chords yet. And so I think, I don't know if it was totally intentional. And then afterwards, I kind of realized, no, this absolutely fits along with what I'm trying to say here. And just conceptually, this makes sense too.
Yeah. And I think that's, I don't know if it's typical of many people. I can say it's been more typical of my songwriting more recently, in that, you get through a draft of something and then you go back and say, is everything really pointing towards that sense of prosody, that sense of things really working together with the theme, with the music, with the melodic choices, with all of the pieces that make up the song? Are they all pointing in that same direction? Or the flip? Do you want it to contrast, and do you want it to be an opposite sort of clashing thing, right? But I think, I think I think that's the difference between writing a song quickly and taking your time, or struggling through it, as you've described. That is the struggle, is finding the ways in which that happens, right? If you feel that resolving isn't right, well, how do you introduce that tension? Are you introducing too much? Are you introducing not enough? Is it obvious? Is it not obvious? All those things, and finding the right balance point between them. And yes, I come back to that bridge because it's such a great moment in the song, and it's not too long. You don't labor there. You don't spend too long there. And then you come back to a quiet chorus, of course, because the bridge is really the high energy point of the song. It's resolved. It's a stronger melody. Arguably, it's a tighter melody in that. Because even in your chorus, your melody does kind of meander like it's a verse almost, even though it's a higher register. It's got the ooze and all that stuff to make it sound like a chorus. But there's some qualities about it. It's got just as many words, if not more words, than your verse. It's not a nice. It's not a super poppy tight little chorus. It's got some you got some meat on the bone in the chorus. So to have a bridge that's almost the opposite of all those things. The bridge, it maybe sounds more chorusy in that traditional sense, which is a great place to be.
What I love about the song is that it is musically complex as we're talking, but it doesn't sound musically complex.
No,
it just sounds like there's that sort of an interesting feel to it. That sort of unsettled feel, and it just shows you that you can struggle with the song, and it'll still sound natural and good, even if you have to work to get it there. And it's so easy as songwriters to just stop. Well, it's too hard, I'll work on something else. But sometimes you got to just really bang on something and work on it for a year or something before you find the solution, because it works really well. Yeah, really great tune.
Thank you. Yeah, I will say that this is one of my most unusual songwriting processes. I find that sometimes it is the song just pours out of me. It's the verse, and okay, this feels so naturally. It goes right into the chorus. This one was different, and I have to say that at points I was like, "Screw this song! I need to take a break." Like I've tried figuring out this chorus, and nothing just sounded right to my ear. I would just be driving like in my car, and I would have the notes app just kind of playing it back for myself and listening. And I was like, sometimes there'd be the night before I would have, recorded something and thought, this is the one, this is how the chorus should sound. And I'd be driving and listening the next morning, and I was like, this is not it. This is still not the right one.
That is great, because a big part about art is knowing what works and what doesn't work. And saying it doesn't work and it needs to be better is the difference between someone who does it as a hobby, and there's nothing wrong with that, and someone who wants to take the craft seriously.
Yeah. I've noticed with other guests we've had on the show, Matt Zaddy comes to mind. I don't know if you know Matt Zaddy, talking about the fidgety bits of a song, right? And how he enjoys sort of working those little fidgety bits, because there's a lot of, like Phil said, there's a high level of craft here. There's a lot of attention to detail, but it's not obvious, right? Because it does flow fairly nicely into the and even in all the things I'm saying about the chorus, how it's got a lot of things to do with a lot of similarities with the qualities of a verse. It still stands out as a chorus. You know when the chorus hits, when the bridge hits, for sure. And it all just fits together really nice. I really like that one hook in the, I guess it's a pre-chorus, but I don't. It's got that kind of neat little poppy rhythmic thing, da 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 da, right? And then you never revisit that again. The rest of it is very kind of legato flowing melodies. It's like there's this little bit that just sounds like it's going to be this little pop ditty. Nope, we're not going there.
Yeah, there's just these little nuggets throughout.
Yeah,
and I don't know if that is my like resistance to being too poppy. But sometimes it's fun to like bring those elements in, and knowing that might be like, something that catches, someone's ear for a moment in time. And then it's like, oh, and now we're moving on from there.
Yeah. Maybe because it is kind of it is in some ways antithetical to the rest of the song. Like it kind of stands out as its own little thing, because especially lyrically, you don't repeat words anywhere else in the song. The rest of the song does lend to those kind of longer legato melodies, because it's meaty words. There's a lot of words, and you wouldn't want to, here lies my youth. Like it wouldn't, like it wouldn't work.
I guess that could be the ghosts in the background. It's like echoing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah. With a little ethereal reverb on it or whatever. But, like it's an interesting choice, because it does kind of work here, but maybe that's the only spot where it would work.
Yeah, it's funny. I did think about that repetition piece. Like at one point when I was crafting this, I thought, well, there's a lot of these images around ghosts, and there could almost be this, kind of like ethereal echo part of the song. But then I almost felt like that was tapping into that almost too much and almost maybe overselling that part of the lyrics. And so, yeah, I guess to your point, there is only just that little piece in the pre-chorus that repeats and otherwise not.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice. And maybe it's one of those things you just go this, it feels right, it doesn't feel right, and, at the end of the day, it's all, and that's what we do as songwriters and as artists, that you're constantly, doubting yourself and second guessing yourself. Is this the right decision? I don't know. Is anyone going to like this? But do I like it? So at the end of the day, all you can really do is just be satisfied with it yourself. And if anyone does or doesn't like it, then, move on.
Yeah. So what's the next step with this song? What is it? You doing like a wide release, or is it going on an album, or what's happening with it?
Yeah. So I would love for this to pop up on an EP. I've got this whole kind of conceptual idea of a storyline that I'd love to have for an EP, and this song is definitely part of it. So, the idea for the EP would kind of be to take us through kind of, I guess there's themes within this song that would also find themselves in the EP, but this idea of recognizing something within yourself that doesn't quite feel right. Again, I guess some of that feeling of tension that we notice in this song, and then moving through that for yourself, making decisions, and then coming out on the other end. And my hope for what I've been imagining for this sort of EP is that the songs in the latter half are ones that feel a little more settled in terms of the chords melodically. They also just flow a little bit more. They feel maybe a little more uplifted, I guess, in some ways. Whereas the ones in the beginning would be more this kind of like there's inner conflict and turmoil and trying to sort through things. And so I feel like this one definitely fits into all of that. And where it would go on the EP in terms of the order, probably something a little bit closer to the beginning, but I'm hoping to show maybe some of that transition. But I think it definitely would fit into that.
Cool. So is this released as a single yet, or are you sort of holding on to it as a, you heard it here first, folks, kind of thing?
Yeah, so I guess Elgin Street's been released as a single, but the EP, it's been written and she's just got to be recorded.
Okay. Fun.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. There's a lot of intentionality there that you're trying to map out the whole thing in an age where, ostensibly singles are the most important thing. You're shuffling on Spotify anyway. It's nice to be able to conceive of a sort of a concept album, so to speak. And
I don't know. People are buying more CDs now. So
yeah,
apparently tapes are coming back. What's on the B side? Where's the flip?
Wax cylinders will be the next one.
Exactly. Where do you make the flip? Where do you flip it over? It's on the other side. Yeah, excellent. Okay, great stuff. Okay, I'm here in the band. I think that is all the time we have on Song Talk Radio. Special thanks to Natalie Reis. And where can our listeners find out more about you and hear some more tunes?
Yeah, so you can find me on all the streaming platforms under my name, Natalie Reis, and you can follow along with the shows and things that I'm doing at Natalie Reis Music on Instagram. I occasionally find myself on TikTok, depends on what you're into. So
if you got dance routines for any of these songs?
I think I should just stick to the music. Dancing is totally not my thing.
Okay. And can you spell your last name for us, please?
Yeah. Reis. Not like Reese's Pieces.
Right. Of course. Okay, we want to hear from you too. So please send your comments on Facebook or Instagram to @SongTalkRadio, or send us an email, feedback@songtalk.ca. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos and full episodes, and subscribe today to the Song Talk Radio podcast on your favorite podcast provider. And please support us at our Patreon page. You can visit songtalk.ca/support. Thanks to everyone who have supported us so far.
Thank you.
You can find links to all the products, books, and web services we mentioned on the show on our resources page on the website. And please join us at our next monthly Song Talk meetup. Whether you're in Toronto for our in-person meetups or anywhere in the world for our online meetups, it's free to join on Eventbrite and free to attend. Bring a song and a lyric sheet and get constructive feedback from other songwriters. Stop by songtalk.ca for the link. You can follow me at neilmodi.com. You can follow Phil.
PhilEmery.ca.
And Natalie, what's your favorite social media channel? Where do you post the most?
I would say Instagram. Come hang out there. It's a good place to be.
Right, be sure to follow Natalie there. And be sure to stop by the website, songtalk.ca, to browse past shows and find out how you can be a guest. Thanks for tuning in, and keep on writing.
Keep on writing. Good night. We're done.
All right, it's a cut. All right, that was great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's a neat, that's a really neat song. I'm gonna
Very nice song, yeah.
play around with that four. Suspended
Yeah.
four.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for having me on, guys, and for having
it was a
conversation.
pleasure.
It's not typical that you get to like nerd out over songwriting, and this
Yep,
specifically. So
what we
I
do.
really appreciate having like-minded people to do that with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great fun. Yeah, that's what we like to do.
We just did a show on cadences that I've just finished editing, and holy crap, is that nerdy?
Yeah, that was super nerdy. That's exactly what we're talking about like not resolving and resolving. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
Like
that's what cadences are, right?
cadences versus
Yeah,
like
Legal.
Yeah.
yeah.
Interrupted, which is what
ones.
you were doing.
Mhm,
That's
yeah.
right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one long interrupted cadence.
Pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah. It's deceitful the whole way through till the bridge.
Yeah, deceptive
Yeah.
cadence. Yeah. That's the way it goes. Yeah, but it's great.
Yeah, so it'll be probably, it might be a couple weeks before the show is published, but we will send you an email. And if you could share it amongst your peeps, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very
Thank
cool.
you so much for having me on. It was really
Yeah.
fun talking to you guys.
Great.
Thanks so much. All right.
Good to have you, Natalie. Take care. Have a good one.
Okay.
Thank you, Natalie.
Bye.
See you later.